Welcome to the Diverse Minds podcast, where we give you the tips, tools and techniques you need to be a mentally healthy and inclusive leader. Each week, you'll hear about a variety of topics linked to mental health, well-being and diversity that will enhance both your professional practice and personal well-being.
Welcome to the 30th episode of the Diverse Minds podcast. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Mental Health Awareness Week and this year's theme of kindness. It's Mental Health Awareness Week from Monday the 18th to Sunday 24th of May this year. A national week in the UK to raise awareness of mental health and mental ill health, to inspire action and promote the positive message of good mental health for all. Mental Health Awareness Week was established in 2001 and is run by the Mental Health Foundation. And this year's theme was changed from sleep to kindness, given the pandemic and everything that's going on. The Mental Health Foundation decided that focusing on the power and potential of kindness was vital given the global pandemic. They feel that it could be the most important week they've hosted, not least because their own research shows that protecting our mental health is going to be central to us as a community and society coping with and recovering from the coronavirus pandemic, with the psychological and social impacts likely to outlast the physical symptoms potentially of the virus, or conjoining physical and mental health, ill health symptoms. So one of the 5 ways of well-being is to give. And this can be in different ways, whether it's official volunteering, giving someone a smile, waving at someone at a distance, phoning your family, etc. It's also about being kind in your everyday. For example, not trolling people on social media. And a lack of kindness reminds me of Caroline Flack's tragic suicide. She tweeted in December, "In a world where you can be anything, be kind." Isn't that true? And doesn't it ring true at the moment? So why should we care about kindness and why is it important? Well, actually, kindness or helping others improves our self-esteem. Volunteering can help reduce social isolation and creates a sense of belonging, even if you're doing it virtually. It enables us to have perspective and increase the gratitude that we have. It makes the world a happier place as it increases the hormone oxytocin. Kindness is also thought to increase levels of serotonin, the happiness hormone. And kind people, according to research, have 23% less cortisol, the stress hormone, and age more slowly as a result than average population who do not continually commit acts of kindness. And I do think that people and organisations that have been kind during the COVID-19 pandemic and put their staff and customers first will be remembered and hailed as beacons of good practice. And I truly hope this will cause a shift in how we do things, as those who have been unfair to staff are being called out. And you will have seen various social media memes about them. Not trolling, I hasten to add, but pointing out bailouts for billionaires, etc. And I realise that that's the tip of the iceberg, and there'll be a lot of bad practice going on that won't be called out. And personally, I think it takes a lot more energy to be unkind than kind, so why isn't there more kindness in the world? And here's a great place to start. So in terms of kindness and what I'm offering listeners and Diverse Minds newsletter subscribers is that I've opened up my calendar and I'm offering free 30-minute coaching calls. My aim is to support you with your work-life balance challenges so you can spend more time in the way that you want to. If this feels like something that you need, then please book a mutually convenient time using my Calendly link in the show notes. And I very much look forward to speaking with you and getting you on your journey. So back to kindness, and on a personal level, there's quite a lot we can do even with social distancing in place. So at the moment, if you feel able to and can afford it, buy a few extra cans, have a look and see what your local food banks need. The Trussell Trust have a great website where you can go online and have a look. You can type in your postcode and it will give you a list of things that your local food banks need. And a lot of supermarkets and small stores are doing food bank collections. So that's something you could do quite quickly. If you feel financially able to donate money to crisis and shelter, something that I was reading about is that a lot of hospitality workers have lost their jobs overnight in London and are living on the streets. They've been thrown out of their accommodation because they can't pay their rent. So crisis and shelter absolutely need people's support. NHS funds, as we've seen, and international charities like Doctors of the World who are helping developing countries with the COVID crisis. You could set up calls for isolated groups. Age UK is a really great place to start, and they have volunteering and befriending if you're interested. So if you want to do some kind of official volunteering, that's a really good place. Shout is also a tech service, a crisis tech service. They're currently looking for volunteers. If you go on the Shout website, you can have a look at that. and sign up there. It's quite a lengthy application process, but it talks you through it and it's really straightforward. You could try and support your local businesses by buying vouchers for future use, or if you feel able to take deliveries, have things delivered to you, and your local businesses, food businesses are doing services, then feel free to support local businesses in that way. And do check out Patreon. This is a site that supports artists, writers, crafters and musicians. There are lots of different things that artists are making available. Even if you sponsor them and you also get something in return. So if that's something you feel able to do, that would absolutely help people. Many of you will be doing this, but offering to collect shopping for someone, or I've got a friend and she can't find any flour. So we've got many of us on a mission. Whenever we go out shopping, we look for flour for her. Send a motivational message to someone who might be struggling. And even if you don't hear back from them, that's okay. But just to know that someone's thinking of them, it's a real act of service. Spend time with your pet. I can imagine that a lot of people are doing that right now, but spending time with your pets, just also giving yourself a break and being kind to yourself. Make a cup or a pot of tea for people you might live with. Have a chat with neighbours at a safe distance over the fence if you've got a garden, or from their front doors. I've got 2 examples of this. Incidentally, I was feeling particularly low one day. I had a knock at the door, opened it, and it was one of my neighbours standing far from the door, respecting social distancing, saying, "I haven't seen you for a while. I was just wondering, are you okay?" And that's so, so kind, especially as they have so much going on in their lives. Another example is one of my neighbours. He is reconstructing the trellis, and part of a trellis faces our garden. And the neighbour on his side has actually been helping him with planks of wood build a new trellis. And I just think it's so kind. So there are lots of small things that you can do. Pick up some rubbish lying around in the street. Sponsor a place for someone. So my fitness instructor, I went to her and asked if anyone couldn't afford it. She'd moved her classes online, but I was happy to sponsor a place. Maybe that's something you could do. Or order some extra food or treats for key workers. If your local business can deliver to NHS or GP's practice, etc. And then for organisations, this is going to look slightly different because you can't do the things that we'd normally do, like putting things on someone's desk, but you can do virtual fundraisers. You could have a fancy dress Friday and raise money that way. And one of the things that I think is really kind and also very good for business is to say sorry. In my blog called Do This One Thing to Build Trust in Your Organisation, I talk about this more, but it's unlikely that any organisation will have gotten things 100% right. So the things that you haven't managed to do in the way that you want to do, it's okay to say sorry about. And I talk about this more, how you can say sorry and why it's so impactful. It's also key to remember this is not business as usual. As much as people are trying, it's really not. This is not business as usual. And one of my coachees that I had a catch up with recently, she works in the same organisation but for 2 different departments. And she was talking about how these 2 different departments did things really differently. So one department in the team meeting was saying, right, okay, everyone's business as usual. What have you been doing? What have you been doing? What have you been doing? Why hasn't this been done? And it was almost quite draconian. In another department that she worked for, people were allowed to, I say allowed, but the culture was that everyone introduces themselves on their weekly team call, that their children might be with them, so they were able to meet each other's children, and that actually the focus was on checking in, how are you? And, what have you been doing with your children? How have your children been? Let's wave and say hello. Let's make some connection before we move on to the agenda and actually guess which team had the most work done. No prizes for guessing, but the team where they were allowed to have where they were able to have their children and connect prior to starting on the agenda. So don't be afraid of being fluffy and not being seen to have the business's needs at the heart of what you do. But by having time to build that connection, not only is it kind, but it helps your business go in the way that it needs to. Promote the resources, the mental health resources that you have internally, or find resources to help someone. So one of the best places to do that is in Mental Health at Work. They have some great webinars. It's official, it's accredited, it's part of Minds bigger picture. And make sure that you do refer reputable mental health charities to people if you don't have any internal resources. Something that's kind and really simple is to say thank you to your team and colleagues. So you could send an email, you could send an e-card. So Greetings123 are a company that do that. I'm sure there are lots of others. And just send someone a thank you. If you feel able to send a physical card, if it's safe for you to go to post offices, remember to seal things with tape and not your saliva, just in case, and wash your hands to prevent transmission, even though we're not sure of how long the virus stays on surfaces. I always say better safe than sorry. But if you feel able to do that, why not do that? I think it makes such a difference. And recognise and support colleagues if you can by potentially flower deliveries, letting them spend more time with family and not expecting things to be the same. And of course, we're not all set up for agile or working from home effectively. So if mistakes happen, please don't berate people. Think about the feedback you give. Think about joint solutions that you could all take so it doesn't happen again. And finally, one of my ideas for kindness is just to wish people well. So at the end of a call or at the end of a video call, phone call, is to just say, I wish you well. I hope you have a peaceful weekend. Look after yourself and stay safe. And I know people are generally doing that, but it goes a long way. And don't worry about repeating yourself because I think people really need to hear it right now. So kindness in mental health, it doesn't have to be big life-affirming gestures. It can be small, positive and steady. And I think that is the way to go. By being kind to ourselves and to others, there are lots of benefits for our mental health. We're increasing positive hormones and decreasing our stress hormones. It is also contagious and we're role modelling to others, and it creates a really positive ripple effect. There are lots of ways to be kind even during physical distancing, so think about what might work for you. What will your company do differently as a result, do you think? What could they do differently? Could you share some ideas with them? And what will you personally do to maintain kindness momentum beyond Mental Health Awareness Week? And please don't forget to book a free 30-minute call with me if you want to talk about kindness or your mental health challenges from a non-counselling perspective, get some practical insights, or anything around your work-life balance. I'm really happy to do that. And the link is in the show notes to my Calendly link where you can book a mutually convenient time. And in terms of the week, reflect on an act of kindness. This is from Mental Health Foundation. Share your stories and pictures with permission, of course, of kindness during the week. And you can use the hashtag Kindness Matters and hashtag Mental Health Awareness Week. Use Mental Health Awareness Week resources on the Mental Health Foundation website. And I've included a link to the show notes at home, but also share them with others. And also share your personal ideas on how you think we could all build a kinder society that would support our mental health going forward using the hashtag Kindness Matters and Mental Health Awareness Week again. So I really hope this has been useful. I'd love to hear from you on how you have been kind or things that have worked for you. Feel free to tag me in at Diverse Minds UK on Facebook, Twitter, and my name, Layla Okai, at LinkedIn. So here's to kindness, and I'm going to use some of my own advice and wish you well. I hope you stay safe and stay well. I wish you all the best, and let's have a really great Mental Health Awareness Week and beyond.
Thanks for listening to the Diverse Minds podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you access your podcasts from. You can also connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Tune into next week's episode of the podcast, where I'll bring you more insights on mental health and inclusion. Bye for now.